We had a trade. Josh Naylor traded over to the Mariners, plus we'll preview Week 19 up next on a Kokomo Friday.
Alcantara, Soroka, you look so good in Boca. Peralta, Manoa, bounce back for Aaron Nola. Giolito, Castillo, Yoshida, Moses, Carlo Amparo. Value so high, but ADP so low. Frank Love's hit some kind of Joe. Now let's get on with the show.
Happy Kokomo Friday and welcome in to Fantasy Baseball today on July 25th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White. Today on the show, we had a trade. Josh Naylor over to the Mariners. We'll preview Week 19 and only 5 games on the schedule. So, you know what that means. Scotty doesn't know. Scotty doesn't know. Yeah.
Right. That's right. I had a feeling.
All right, well, let's just begin with the trade, Scott. And
it has begun.
It's for my Mortal Kombat fans out there. First trade is done here. Turns out the Dbacks are sellers, and they shipped Josh Naylor over to the Mariners in exchange for 2 prospects, Brendan Garcia and Ashton Izzy. Garcia, a hard-throwing left-handed reliever, and Izzy is a 21-year-old pitching prospect at high A. Josh Naylor having another strong season, hitting .292, 11 home runs, 59 RBI, 11 steals. 11 steals. That really stands out for Josh Naylor. And an .807 OPS. Has been, banged up over the past month or so, but seems like he's healthy now, and he's being shipped over to Seattle, Scott. So what does this do for Josh Naylor's immediate fantasy value?
Probably not much. If anything, it's a little bit negative. It's not a great place to hit, though. Arizona, the park effects on Arizona have been kind of all over the place in recent years. I know last year it rated as a really poor place to hit. I don't actually trust that. I think it's a decent place to hit still. Seattle, though, has long been considered a tough place to hit. It's a little better for left-handers. Actually, if you look at expected home runs by ballpark for Josh Naylor's career, it's kind of amazing how in line it is with, if he played every game in Seattle versus where he actually played. It pretty much lines up perfectly. So just by the raw data there, it doesn't seem like it's going to be much of an issue for Josh Naylor, at least for him performing like we've always known him to perform. But Seattle is kind of weird with the there have been some complaints about like the batter's eye and just how difficult it is to pick up the ball there. Obviously, plenty of hitters have succeeded there in spite of that. And, probably maybe Josh Naylor will be one too. That's the sort of thing I don't really know how to account for. We just have to wait and see how it goes for him. But it's a wrinkle that could possibly bring down his value, which is why I say I would have rather him not been traded as far as fantasy value goes. But my gut feeling is probably not going to be a big deal. He's probably just going to continue to be Josh Naylor.
I do think it is a slight downtick here for Josh Naylor, who goes from the Dbacks, who are currently 4th in runs scored, to the Mariners, who tied for 10th. Not as bad as I thought, but it is a bit of a lineup downgrade here. You mentioned the ballpark, tough place to hit. Very small sample size, but in Josh Naylor's career, 63 plate appearances in T-Mobile Park. It's a .220 batting average with 4 homers and a .646 OPS. That also means he was facing Mariners pitching, and their pitching is usually really good. So do with that what you will, but I do think it's a slight downtick for Josh Naylor here rest of the season.
It might be justification for me to drop him behind Cody Bellinger in my rest of season rankings, which I was already tempted to do.
I was going to ask, is this enough to move him behind Bellinger and Nick Kurtz, the way Kurtz is hitting? I don't think I would do it in a points league, but in Roto, I might.
I mean, points is like Naylor's a points league standout, especially. Sort of Bellinger is too, actually. But Kurtz the other way around, I would say. Not that he's bad in points leagues, but he continues to strike out at a very high rate, and that hurts him in points leagues the way it doesn't in Roto. Yeah, that's I wouldn't have a problem with it. I'll have to think about that some more. I don't expect the stolen bases to remain a part of Naylor's game, really, regardless of whether he stayed or went. So if you remove those from the equation, I'm pretty much buying into Nick Kurtz, and he's looking phenomenal. So, yeah, I could see doing that in Roto, dropping Naylor behind Kurtz as well as Bellinger.
What does this mean for the D-backs? Well, again, their fire sale looks like it's on. It sounds like they're creating a bidding war right now for Eugenio Suarez. And there was a report that they're likely to trade 5 to 6 more players in addition to Josh Naylor. So I think lots of changes coming here for the
they pulled the ripcord, right? I mean, they revealed what their intentions are. Their intentions are to sell. And that's probably the right move. Except, I gotta say, that's a pretty underwhelming return. A couple minor league pitchers I never heard of, and looking into them more.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I should have heard of them. If that's what they get for Naylor.
I think the return for Naylor was always going to be light just because it's an expiring contract and he's a negative defender, right? It's like,
I guess
800 OPS stat, but
good on base guy.
Yeah.
And obviously a lot of the players that we expect to be moved are going to be on expiring contracts. I don't know. It was just, if this is the first deadline deal, first deal of this trade deadline period. And I was expecting it to be a seller's market because of the number of teams that have a chance of competing still. I thought there would be some reluctance to sell among sort of the middle class in baseball. But if this is a forecast of what's to come, if this is kind of a market setting sort of deal, being the first one, it looks more like it's going to be a buyer's market. And which in turn could lead some of those teams that are on the fence to say, well, I'll just hold on and try to go for it. I'm not going to get much for these assets anyway. I don't know. Maybe Naylor was the exception. Maybe there just wasn't enough of a demand for a first baseman like there would be for Suarez, a third baseman. So we'll see how it plays out. But those are my initial takeaways.
For the D-backs, Roster Resource currently has somebody named Tristan English penciled in at first base. And this year at AAA, he was hitting .341 with 11 homers, a .956 OPS, 14% strikeout rate, 88.8 average exit velocity. I'll be honest, Scott, I don't really know anything about Tristan English. Do you?
Well, this was, I think, the most, from a fantasy standpoint, the most interesting angle of the deal is just who do the Diamondbacks play at first base now? Because Pavin Smith is on the IL with an oblique injury. I was wondering, okay, could this be somehow Suarez sliding to first or something like that? Could this be Jordan Lawler's ticket to the majors? Of course, he's also not healthy at the moment. I forget what his injury is, but it's been about a month, so I think he's on the verge of returning. In any case, it's not going to happen right now for Lawler. Is this English guy worth a look outside of NL-only leagues? I mean, he was productive at AAA, very friendly place to hit. And as you point out, the exit velocities are nothing special. So I'm not eager to pick up Tristan English outside of NL-only leagues. We'll see what happens as they continue to trade off assets. Something's going to happen to open the door for Jordan Lawler, probably the Suarez deal.
Yeah.
If and when that eventually goes through. And then, maybe long-term they're eyeing Adrian Del Castillo for that position because it doesn't seem like he's good enough to catch, to play catcher. I mean, he can probably catch. You need to catch at first base still, believe it or not. But
don't tell the Yankees that.
But he hasn't. Adrian Del Castillo hasn't played a single moment at first base as a professional, majors or minors. So I doubt that's going to happen at this particular moment.
All right. And I know we don't talk a lot about AL and NL only leagues. You did mention it there with Tristan English, but obviously Naylor going over to the AL now. I mean, this is what you save the FAB for. If you play in a mono league with FAB, the trade deadline this is where leagues are won. So I'm sure other players will change leagues and go to the American League as well. But if you want to just be really aggressive and get ahead of the, everybody else and throw the rest of your fab on Josh Naylor, it's totally a defensible move if you want to do something like that. Let's take our first break, Scott. When we return, we'll get into the oh my goodness gracious players of the night. We'll do that right after this.
Here we go. The 2025 CBS Sports NFL schedule is here. 18 glorious Sundays.
He's got his receiver, touchdown.
Filled with rematches.
Oh, the play of the year.
And rivalries.
Touchdown, Bengals.
Plus, plenty of superstar showdowns. And an epic matchup between the Chiefs and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Clear your Sundays beginning September 7th for the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. Let's get into the oh my goodness gracious players of the night.
Oh my goodness gracious!
All right, Scott. Only 5 games, but we had some things happen. Who's your player of the night?
My player of the night is Eric Lauer, who had his best start yet. He had been performing impressively. This was the best one. 8 innings against the Tigers, only 1 earned run allowed, struck out 6, walked none. And how's he doing it? Well, I go back to what I was saying just yesterday, because this is another example of it. He's throwing a ton of strikes, more than he ever has before. He's a 30-year-old, by the way. I don't know that everybody listening knows Eric Lauer's history. Came up with the Padres in 2018 after a good minor league career, but wasn't like a highly regarded prospect. It's kind of bounced around since then, never really stuck the landing. But here he is at age 30 with the Blue Jays, a left-hander throwing a lot of strikes and missing bats at a decent rate. And we've seen Matthew Boyd, Nick Lodolo, more recently Brandon Walter, kind of fit that same mold. They're all having success in this environment where the ball isn't carrying as well as it was just last year and for most of the last 10 years. So that's the initial look at Eric Lauer. I am more skeptical of him than any of those others that I just rattled off, because he has the unfortunate combination of being an extreme fly ball pitcher who allows very hard contact on average. For as much success as Eric Lauer's been having, his fly ball rate would rank second among qualifiers. So we're talking, he's at the extreme in terms of allowing fly balls. Now, if that's weak contact, that can be a very good thing, but it's not. It's hard contact. 8th percentile exit velocity, average exit velocity, meaning high among the highest 8% in allowing hard contact and average exit velocity. So that's a bad combination for Eric Lauer. Obviously, it hasn't come back to bite him yet. Limiting walks is going to help reduce that damage, but even so, that seems like a recipe for a ton of homers at some point. Having said that, Eric Lauer's next matchup is against the Orioles next week. That's a good matchup. I could see rolling the dice on him, and I'll have more to say about that later in the show.
The only thing about Eric Lauer allowing fly balls and hard contact, and I don't know how this is possible, but he somehow has avoided barrels so far. So his barrel rate against is just 7.6%, which is in the 61st percentile. So that's a good mark. I mean, will that remain if he's a fly ball pitcher and giving up hard contact? Probably not, but at least to this point, he has kind of avoided the really hard fly balls, the ones that you do want to stay away from. So agreed, all across here. Eric Lauer, only 46% rostered. Good matchup at the Orioles next week. I don't think he's anywhere close to the names we've been talking about lately, right? Scott, like a Edward Cabrera, Brandon Walter, Joe Boyle, guys like that. Eric Lauer's behind all those, right?
Yeah, well behind them for me.
All right. Next up player of the night for me is going to be Julio Rodriguez, who, I don't know, he's just kind of doing the Julio thing once again. 2 for 5 with a sock and a shoe, his 15th home run, 20th steal. And I believe I heard on their broadcast that he is the first player in Major League history to begin his season with 15 plus homers and 20 plus steals in each of his first 4 seasons. Yeah. 15 and 20 in each of his first 4 seasons. So first player ever to accomplish that is Julio Rodriguez, and he's turning it on. Last 10 games, he's hitting .350, 4 homers, 5 steals, and OPS over 1,100 during that time. And just a reminder, I think we went over this a week ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that, but Julio Rodriguez's career OPS by month. In April, it's 654. In May, 772. In June, 704. In July, 864. August, 917. September, 919. So I don't know why it happens like this every single year, but Julio Rodriguez throughout his entire career has been much better in the second half of season. So I don't think you can really buy low on him anymore. If you can, try for it. But would it shock me, Scott, if Julio Rodriguez is one of the, 25 best players in fantasy the final 2 months of the season?
I mean, I don't know if everybody was listening during the All-Star break, but we redrafted the first 2 rounds for the second half, and he went in the second round, as he should have. That's where I ranked him when I wrote an article on it.
Early to mid-second round, too. So it's
yep.
He's firmly like a top 20-ish player rest of season for all of us. So if you're worried about Julio, I don't think you should be. I think he's turning it on, and we know at that talent level what he's capable of. Did want to mention this with Eric Lauer before, but we'll just, give kudos where it's due. The Blue Jays, they cannot be stopped right now. They crushed the Tigers. They won 11-4. The Tigers are also scuffling right now, mightily. But the Jays put up 11 runs on 15 hits, including 3 homers in this one. Vlad Jr. went 3 for 5 with a double, 2 runs, 2 RBI. Your boy, Addison Barger, 1 for 4 with a walk, triple, 2 runs, and 2 RBI. The 3 names that hit home runs, all kind of fantasy outcasts, I guess you can say. Nathan Lucas, 2 for 5 with his 6th home run. Don't really think there's much there. Ernie Clement, 2 for 4 with his 5th home run, 4 RBI. That's back-to-back multi-hit games for him. He had a huge May and June, but has slowed down quite a bit here in July. So, I don't know, a utility player for those in deeper leagues. Ernie Clement, I think that's about it. And Joey Loperfido, 2 for 5 with his 2nd home run since being recalled in July. 324 batting average, 2 home runs, 890 OPS in 12 games so far. Has started just 9 of 14 since being recalled. I think this last one, Scott, is just a name to watch just because Joey Loperfido was a prospect of some status, came over a couple of years ago from the Houston Astros in a trade, and maybe in deep leagues, he can kind of play his way into fantasy viability. So it's not an ad, but a deep league watch, Joey Loperfido.
Yeah, I was just looking up the strikeout rate during that time, and it's much lower, it looks like.
I mean, that is the Blue Jays team philosophy right now, is just put the ball in play. So,
yeah, that was so. Loperfido started hitting the ball much harder last year and was productive in the minors. Just making sure I have this right, because it looks like, yeah, I think I have the right range of dates. He's striking out only 16% of the time. That's interesting.
On the season, I think these are the only games he's played, right, so far this season?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
In the majors.
Updated numbers, it's a 19% strikeout rate for Loperfido, which is still great for him.
It is. And at AAA, it was 22%. So even that's a big improvement over what we were seeing last year. Yeah, there could be something here for Joey Loperfido. He wasn't hitting for as much power at AAA, so there may be something of a trade-off there, but the peak exit velocities were still impressive. And, playing time might be hard to find. It looks like he's only played against right-handers so far. But it's a big enough name that I'm gonna be monitoring Joey Loperfido, certainly more than I have so far.
All right, big thanks to those watching live. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. Let's get into the news and notes. Not really much going on here on a slow Thursday outside of the trade, but Felix Bautista was placed on the IL with right shoulder discomfort. Interim manager Tony Manzolino indicated he won't have a set closer in Bautista's absence. They had a save opportunity right away on Thursday where Sir Anthony Dominguez pitched in the 8th inning. He faced the heart of the Guardians lineup 3, 4, and 5. And then Gregory Soto got the 9th inning. He struck out 2 for his first save of the season. I think they're going to mix and match, Scott, and I think this entire bullpen could be traded somewhere else by next week. So I'm not really sure how much it matters.
To me, Brian Baker seemed like the obvious next in line back when I went through every team's pecking order just before the All-Star break. Looks like he's had a couple of bad outings recently that have blown up his ERA a bit. So
Brian
maybe
Baker, I believe, got traded to Tampa Bay.
When did that happen?
Before
Oh, you're right. Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness. Man, I missed that. Sorry about that.
It's all good. I mean, it's Brian Baker, you know. It's
Definitely want to be him then. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Can any of these names matter in the interim? Like a Gregory Sotos or Anthony Dominguez?
Based on what based on the plan there that they're going to mix and match, it's unlikely. Obviously, Gregory Soto becomes the clubhouse leader just because he got the first save and he has plenty of closing experience. So I don't know. If I had to pick one, it would probably be him.
All right, next up, Christian Javier moved his rehab to AAA on Thursday, where he went 2 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. He built up to 49 pitches. Christian Javier, still just 28 years old. He had that awesome 2022, but then the skills declined a ton in 2023 and 2024. 14% rostered right now. Scott, any deep league interest in stashing a Christian Javier?
Yeah, sure. He was on my my latest IL stash rankings that came out earlier this week. He was low. He was, I'll tell you the exact number, 41st. I only listed 45 names, and he was 41st. So, if you don't have an open IL spot, no reason to force Christian Javier in that. He had kind of lost a lot of his luster in fantasy before the Tommy John surgery, but he was still tantalizing, and if you have a free IL spot, you could do worse with it.
Shane Bieber's next rehab start is scheduled for Sunday. The plan is for him to build up to 55 pitches. The latest trade rumors, apparently the Yankees have talked to the Pirates about O'Neal Cruz. The price is steep, which is not surprising, but I mean, exactly what they need, more strikeouts and exit velocity. I mean, where would O'Neal Cruz even play? You know, it's their outfield is full, unless they're getting rid of Volpe in the trade and, I don't know, put him back at shortstop. But
third base?
Yeah, but it's
play shortstop,
you're putting another player at third base who's never played there. It's just,
if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball, Frank.
That is a great movie. You know, that's right up my alley, Scott. Like, just dumb comedy. That's right up. Yeah, Dodgeball, love that one. We'll see. I mean, my guess is O'Neal Cruz is not traded, but anything can happen. The Mariners remain interested in more bats here. They are still in on Eugenio Suarez, as are the Cubs, Reds, Yankees, and apparently the Astros also in on Suarez, which maybe means that Isaac Paredes' hamstring injury is really, really bad if they are looking to acquire a third baseman. The Mets are among teams that have checked in on Luis Robert. I think that makes sense. They could use some help in center field. And I have one prospect note. This isn't a homer thing. I just feel like we got to mention it. Spencer Jones, Yankee outfield prospect, hit 3 more home runs at AAA on Thursday. The guy is red hot. He's now batting .400 with 13 homers in 19 games at AAA and has 29 home runs total in 68 games in the minors this season. So, especially if he's traded, Scott, I mean, I could see a team that he's traded to just calling Spencer Jones up right away. If he stays with the Yankees, it's tougher because their outfield is so crowded. But also, if he just hits like this, I don't know. I think they might just have to find a way to get him in there somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, it's come on very suddenly here, and I don't mean that to diminish what he's doing. It's just that's how it works sometimes with player development. Spencer Jones, from the time he was drafted, thought to have massive power potential. He stands 6'7", and he just didn't have the optimal angles for it. The angle off the bat wasn't great for it. He struck out at a ridiculous rate, and that's what pushed him off all the top 100 lists. prior to this year. It's like if he's striking out this much against AA pitchers and he has to figure out how to optimize his swing for power, I don't know. That's just a lot of hurdles to clear. But it seems like he's cleared them here very suddenly, with partly because he developed a steeper launch angle in the offseason, worked on that. But more recently, this surge seems to be tied to a batting average adjustment he made. And it's kind of funny. His swing looks kind of funny now because the timing mechanism he employs, it's a big leg kick, but not like a big leg kick I've ever seen before. It kind of reminds me of like a Weeble wobble. He just it's a stiff leg and he just rocks his whole body.
Yeah, it's weird for sure.
Yeah, but he says it allows him to react quicker to different pitch types for some reason. I don't know why, but the proof is in the pudding, because what did you say? 13 home runs in 19 games.
Yeah,
like if that is demanding a promotion as much as anybody can, as much as any prospect can. So yeah, I agree. I don't see the place for him in the Yankees lineup, given how little it took to acquire Josh Naylor, like I was talking about earlier in the show. It's hard to imagine the caliber of player that would require them giving up Spencer Jones for him. Maybe an O'Neal Cruz type of trade. I don't know. But I did come out with an article here on Thursday, 10 possible, a prospects report, 10 possible trade deadline risers among the prospects. And Spencer Jones was absolutely on that list for the reasons you just mentioned.
All right, let's get into the rest of Thursday's action and waiver wire players, hitters and pitchers combined. There obviously wasn't too much going on here, but two pitchers. Charlie Morton turned in a quality start at the Guardians, 6 2/3 innings, 3 runs, 7 strikeouts, had 15 whiffs on 107 pitches. It's a 3.81 ERA over his last 10 starts. And Luis Severino had himself a great start at the Astros, 7 innings, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts, 0 walks. You're probably thinking, why is Frank bringing up Luis Severino? Just wanted to point out his splits this season. 12 starts at home in Sacramento, 6.68 ERA, 1.62 whip. 9 starts on the road, 3.10 ERA, 1.11 whip. So I don't think Severino's good all of a sudden, but streamer on the road, or if he's traded and doesn't have to pitch in Sacramento anymore, I don't know, maybe it works out. So what do you think, Scott? Any thoughts here on Charlie Morton as an ad and or Severino?
So you gave the numbers for Charlie Morton's last 10 starts?
I purposely mentioned just the ERA, even though the whip is 138, so it's not very
well. I'm trying to see, did I do the math wrong on this? Because if you add just the 11th start, so all of his starts since moving to the rotation after that stint in the bullpen, the numbers look a lot better. And I'm trying to figure out if one of us calculated wrong or if just that one extra start makes that big of a difference. So what I got here is 11 starts since return, 3.68 ERA, 1.18 whip, 10 K per 9, which sounds a lot like prime Charlie Morton, frankly.
I'll recalculate, but keep talking.
Okay.
Let's see.
So if that's true in his 11 starts since returning to the rotation, going along with that, he's thrown during that time 67% of his pitches for strikes versus 60% before. So that's kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. 67% very high end strike percentage, 60% very low end. And it's made a huge difference here in the productivity for Charlie Morton. And it kind of reminds me of Nick Pivetta a couple years ago. I think it was his second to last year with the Red Sox, where he had a stint in the bullpen that kind of snapped his control back into place and has been a much more effective pitcher ever since. Now, it's hard to bet on Charlie Morton being transformed in the same way, given that he's 41 years old, but at least these first 11 starts, with, the one big exception, one start that just went horrible. I think it was 2 starts that went really bad. But for the most part, I gave the overall numbers again, 11 starts, 3.68 ERA, 1.18 whip, 10 K per 9. Is that right? Do I have that right?
I just calculated the ERA. That's definitely 3.81, but it looks like it's just 10 starts, Scott, because he was re-entered into the rotation on May 26th. So from May 26th through today's start, it's 10 starts. Anything before that was a relief appearance.
Why is it showing that he worked the first inning on May 17th?
May 17th, I have as a relief appearance, 4 1/3, 1 run, 6 strikeouts.
I guess it technically was a relief pitch appearance, but he entered in the first inning, so I was counting it as a start. Kyle Gibson worked only 2/3 of an inning that day, and Charlie Morton relieved him. Okay.
You can include that to make the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, 4 1/3 innings. I mean, it was basically a start.
All right.
Okay.
All right, so that is Charlie Morton. We'll see what team he's on come next week. I mean, I think he's almost a guarantee to get traded. And, the matchup against Toronto, again, like, they're pesky right now. They don't strike out. I don't really want to use streamer pitchers against the Blue Jays if I can avoid it right now. But Morton, for the past 2 months has been serviceable. Severino, we'll see if he gets traded out of Sacramento, maybe can kind of transform himself back into a streamer pitcher. Just getting away from Sacramento. It hasn't worked out for him. Ramon Laureano, a name we have mentioned recently, continues to do his thing, 1 for 5 with his 14th home run. And since the start of May, he is batting .300 with 11 home runs and an OPS over 900, 27% rostered with 7 games next week. So, deeper 5 outfielder leagues, 15-team roto. Do you think he needs to be rostered in 12-team roto, Scott, with 5 outfielders, or is it just leagues deeper than that right now for Laureano?
I would say definitely 5 outfielder leagues. Does he need to be rostered anywhere else? I wouldn't say he needs to be rostered anywhere else.
Even in 12-team 5 outfielder leagues, or
yeah, all 5 outfielder leagues. Laureano, I think, is definitely in the rosterable range. His numbers in his over the last 365 days, the last calendar year for Ramon Laureano: .290 batting average, 22 homers, 9 steals, and 855 OPS. And I'll point out that's in only 129 games. So he hasn't gotten a full season's worth in that full calendar year, still 22 home runs. So, you project that out. That's about 3/4 of a season. So, almost a 30 homer pace there for Ramon Laureano over the past calendar year to go along with that .290 batting average and not insignificant steals. So, I think it's bad plate discipline. I wouldn't be eager to use him in a points league, but I think you could. And spoiler alert, I have Ramon Laureano as a sleeper hitter for next week.
All right. Well, let's talk about the drop-o-meter. Just one player here. Yu Darvish, man. Got rocked at the Cardinals. 3 1/3 innings, 8 hits, 8 runs, 2 homers allowed in this one. Lots of hard contact. He has made 4 starts, has a 9.18 ERA and a 180 whip. He's 38 years old. Might just be done. Still 71% rostered. It wouldn't surprise me if, he figures things out and maybe, down the stretch, he's fantasy viable or relevant once again. But at 71% rostered, Scott, I would much rather drop a Darvish for Edward Cabrera, Brandon Walter, Joe Boyle, all those names.
Yeah, I think this might be the end for Darvish. 38 years old, not a start that's even passable since he returned. It's only 4. He could still turn it around. He's one of those pitchers with such a deep arsenal that I think sometimes he doesn't know the best method of attack himself, and he kind of has to feel his way through it. That may be what's happening for Yu Darvish here, but he's appeared to be on the decline for a few years now. And I don't think you have to hold on to him if you see somebody worth getting excited about on the waiver wire.
All right, let's take our final break. When we return, we will run through the rest of Thursday's action. We'll play some Scotty Doesn't Know. We'll do that right after this.
What's he like? The happy-faced killer?
You mean my dad? Be glad you never have to know.
You think that you're so much better than me.
You're just like your old man.
I'm not like you at all.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball. Today, let's run through some of the leftovers here from Thursday's action. We had some other rough pitcher outings. Scott, your favorite. I light up every time I see Sonny Gray on the rundown here. Another rough outing. This one against the Padres. 5 innings, 11 hits, 7 runs, 6 of those earned. Had 5 strikeouts to 0 walks. The underlying numbers actually looked pretty good in this one. Like, they were fine. I mean, the biggest thing that stands out, 10 hard hits. Obviously, that's not great. And last 2 starts now, it's 14 earned runs over 8 1/3 innings for Sonny Gray. And Reese Olson had himself a rough start. He was the one who opposed the Blue Jays in that game. 5 2/3 innings, 5 runs, 4 strikeouts. His other starts since coming back were fine. You know, the one thing I don't love about Olson, I like the talent. He has only completed 6 innings 3 times in 13 starts this year. So that's not great. But any thoughts here on Reese Olson and Sonny Gray?
Man, Sonny Gray, the enigma never ends. I mean, you said it.
I'm sure he'll rattle off 5 awesome starts after this now.
It wouldn't surprise me. Normal velocity, normal pitch selection, normal movement on the pitches. I can't really come up with an explanation for why he was so bad in this start, but it's 2 really awful starts in a row. It kind of makes me wonder if he might be tipping his pitches, but I saw no chatter about that online, so that's totally out of the blue for me. It may just be Sonny Gray being Sonny Gray. The last 2 outings were so bad, and it's been kind of a bad trend for a while here now, that I wouldn't blame anybody for sitting him just on principle. It does feel a little dangerous, since particularly in roto leagues, you've already banked these awful numbers. You risk missing out on some of the correction. That seems like it's going to come at some point, but he's just killing you right now, and I wouldn't mind sitting him.
Mm-hmm. He gets the Marlins next week, and for years we've targeted the Marlins, but their offense is much better too. So
it's still bottom third of the league in runs scored.
I mean, I guess much better for them is just like where they were coming from, right?
Yeah, they don't have the worst or second worst offense. They have like the 10th worst offense.
Yeah. Any thoughts here on Reese Olson before we move on?
I mean, part of it, I think, is just he was facing a Blue Jays lineup that's been really good lately, climbing about 10 spots in the rankings itself in terms of runs scored as a team. And, Addison Barger. I think it all goes back to him. They insert Addison Barger in the lineup. He's a total game changer. Blue Jays go from being a bad offense to a good offense.
All right, some hitting leftovers that I had here. Steven Kwan had himself a big game. Guess that wrist is all right, after all. 2 for 4 with a double dong, and he needed that. Sub 700 OPS since the start of June, so it's been a rough go for Steven Kwan. Fernando Tatis, 3 for 5 with his 17th home run. He's bounced back here with a solid July. Manny Machado, 3 for 5 with his 19th home run. He's up the power so far in July. Brendan Donovan, 3 for 5 with his 9th home run. Had a bad June, but every other month it's been an OPS over 800 for Brendan Donovan. So he's been a pretty consistent player this season. Ivan Herrera, 3 for 4 with his 9th homer. And in 8 games since returning from the IL, he's hitting .290 with 1 homer, 2 steals, 776 OPS. Has not started a single game at catcher. So we are on watch to see if we can get those. I think it's 6 more games he needs at catcher to have eligibility for next season. Wilson Contreras, 2 for 3 with a walk and his 14th home run. He has gotten better every month this season. And Randy Arozarena, 1 for 4 with his 19th homer. Last 41 games dating back to the beginning of June. .299 batting average, 12 homers, 33 runs scored, 7 steals, and OPS over 1,000. Arozarena has been awesome. Anything to add or mention with these names?
No. Just that Herrera's under rostered still. I was able to put him in my sleeper hitters for this week.
Really?
Spoiler alert.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, because he's playing every day. He has the catcher eligibility for now. I don't think he's going to retain it for next year, but he has it for now. Starting every single game for the Cardinals. He hadn't done a lot since returning from the IL. Ivan Herrera hadn't done a lot until today with this monster performance, but there will be more performances like that because he is, I'm going to go as far as to say he's an elite hitting talent.
Again, that is Ivan Herrera. Did want to ask with Steven Kwan, who was scuffling the past month and a half before this big game. Is he still a must roster player in category leagues? Because I know in points leagues, like the skill set is great for Kwan regardless, but what about in like 3 outfielder head-to-head category leagues? Is Kwan a must roster player there?
In that very specific circumstance, I could see dropping him. You know, it depends who you have, obviously, but he's kind of mid. He's kind of mid. So if you have a stacked outfield, which I think could only be the case in a 3 outfielder league, the scenario you laid out there, I could see dropping him. Somebody will probably pick him up right away and you'll never see him again. But if your outfield's stacked, that's fine. You can live without the guy who's mid. Points league, obviously you hold on to Kwan because he's special in those with the low strikeout rate. And again, 5 outfielder leagues. So like a traditional roto league, you have to hold on to him there. He is still 98% rostered in CBS Sports leagues. So doesn't seem like many people have given a thought to dropping Steven Kwan.
That's fair. All right. Well, you know what time it is. Scotty doesn't know. Scotty doesn't know.
Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know.
All right. If you're just checking in for the first time, you haven't heard us play Scotty Doesn't Know before, I'm going to throw a stat out at Scott. These are not players who did something notable on Thursday. I have to make this much harder for you this time.
That will make it much harder. That's like the cheat code.
Yeah. So I'm going to throw a stat at Scott. He guesses who the player is. If he gets it wrong, we play the soundbite. We talk about the player. All right. Are you ready, Scott?
I am ready.
I guess I'll give you 2 clues for this player.
Oh, okay. That's helpful.
A hitter drafted inside of the top 100 picks who over his last 38 games is hitting 177 with a 32% strikeout rate and a sub 600 OPS.
I'm going to go Teoscar Hernandez.
Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know.
That was a good guess, though. The answer is Lawrence Butler, a player I feel like we haven't talked much about this year. And, you know, the power and speed is still okay. You know, during this stretch where, again, he's hitting 177, 32% K rate. He does have 5 homers and 7 steals. So that's helped. But overall this season, it's a 29% strikeout rate. The ground ball rate is up this year. Expected stats look terrible. Where are we at, Scott, on Lawrence Butler? Someone we all liked as a break. Maybe not Chris as much, but you and I definitely liked him as a breakout this year.
Yeah, it seems like he's reverted to some of his old habits. You said how long has he had that 179 batting average? Last
38 game stretch.
38 games. I had no idea it was that bad. Because the overall numbers are still okay, especially when you factor in the stolen base total. Like, okay from a fantasy perspective. His strikeout rate has swelled again this year. The pull air rate has gone down. It's actually the lowest it's ever been. The contact quality is still very good. Like, you still see the talent there for Lawrence Butler, and we've seen him tap into it before. So there's that hope that he can again. But I don't know. 3 outfielder leagues definitely benchable for the time being. And yeah, it's been so bad lately. My take for Lawrence Butler had been, well, it's disappointing, but he's still doing enough. He's still doing enough that you just keep him in your lineup. But that's a long time to be hitting under 180.
Yep. All right, next up, let's see what we got. I have to get back to my notes. I can't put it on the rundown or else Scott will see it. So I have to hide it somewhere else. Next up, I lead all hitters with a 44% strikeout rate in the month of July. 44%.
In July.
Qualified hitters.
That's all you're going to give me, huh?
You know, Scott, it's either you know or you don't.
Well, I'm going to guess it's a good player. Is it O'Neal Cruz?
It is not.
Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know.
It's somebody that you have been weary about all season. And it is Riley Green, who in July is hitting 200, is helped out with the 6 home runs, 16 RBI. That brings the monthly OPS up to 716, but 44% strikeout rate. I was shocked. That has brought the overall strikeout rate up to 32% on the season. And I know his batting average is still around like 275, 280, but based on this strikeout rate, I think that batting average could drag down a little bit here.
Yeah, it has to. And I would say the home run pace is likely to go down as well. He doesn't, at least in terms of average exit velocity, not nearly as hard as you think. It's only 49th percentile average exit velocity. That strikeout rate for the season, not the 44% one, but the 32% for the season mark, first percentile. So as big of a strikeout hitter as it exists in the majors. And like I said, doesn't impact the ball as hard as you think. So I think Riley Green has proven himself to be a must-start caliber player, but this career best pace he's on, I think it has to drop off some.
He does have a bit of this Juan Soto thing. He's not Juan Soto. Let me get that out of the way. But for someone who hits the ball on the ground as much as Riley Green does, really good at barreling the ball up. So when he gets pitches that he can drive in the air, he hits those with authority. And that's how he gets to the home run total that he has this season. So he is kind of a weird outlier in that way. Ground ball rate too high, but when he gets the right pitches, he can do damage on those. But obviously he can't be striking out this much. So just something that stood out to me there on Riley Green. All right, next up, I am a top 10 outfielder in points leagues over the last 28 days, Scott. So you have a 10% chance of getting it right. Well, it doesn't
only if I know the 10.
Only if you know the 10.
Yeah.
So it's actually a much lower percentage than
tough. So I imagine this is normally a bad player, else why would you be bringing this up? Top 10 in points league over the last 28 days, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, you know who's been top 10 for longer than that, who I like and have liked all season long? Even when everybody was out on him, I was in. I'm going to guess it's this same player, Brandon Nimmo.
Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know.
It is Ceddanne Rafaela, who is also the 25th best outfielder overall in Roto this season. Last 46 games. So this goes even further back. I chose 28 days because that's what the filters give you on, if you look at the stats page on CBS. But last 46 games dating back to May 28th, Ceddanne Rafaela is hitting .321 with 12 homers, 28 runs, 29 RBI, 7 steals, 959 OPS. I mean, this is a real 5-category contributor for the past 6 weeks of the season. And he's lowered the strikeout rate. He's hitting the ball hard. He's also got a 3.2 Fangraphs WAR this year. I mean, he's tied for 21st among hitters. Like, Rafaela has taken some huge steps forward this season.
Hey, Frank.
Yes?
The only clue you gave me is he's been a top 10 outfielder for the last 28 days in points leagues. How do you know Brandon Nimmo hasn't been? This is this is who are 3 guys who've never been in my kitchen. This is a poorly worded question, and I think I technically got it right.
Well, all right. Talk about Ceddanne Rafaela, and I'll look that up.
Okay. So, Rafaela, it's funny because I think back in my wayward youth, when I doubted the legitimacy of Pete Crow Armstrong's breakout, I quipped here on the podcast, well, how would you feel if Ceddanne Rafaela was putting up these numbers? Because Pete Crow Armstrong's data looks about the same. And little did I know that we were in for a breakout season for Ceddanne Rafaela too. He's not Pete Crow Armstrong. He doesn't. His pull air rate especially isn't nearly on that level, and he's not as aggressive of a base stealer. But it's the same type of skill set, and he was like Pete Crow Armstrong, despite the warning signs in the batted ball profile. He was a very productive minor league hitter, and so I think we need to pay a little more attention to that going forward. I know you gave the points league stat, and so Rafael has been getting it done in that format. I would still say not nearly as good in points leagues as Roto, because he doesn't walk much at all, but he's showing he's plenty usable in all formats.
Yeah, and just a freak athlete too. I mean, the ways that we talk about Pete Crow Armstrong maybe just being an outlier because his talent allows him to do that and just outperform just because he's such a good athlete. Rafaela is a similar mold in terms of just he can hit the ball really hard. He's got fantastic speed, obviously. And to answer your question about Brendan Nimmo, let me make sure I got this right. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Over the past 28 days, Brendan Nimmo is the 11th best outfielder.
So those 3 guys have been in my kitchen.
All right, next up, I've got 2 pitchers for you here. This gentleman is tied for the league lead in quality starts. I guess. Let me bring up the other names that are tied in case you get it right.
I'm sorry. I was distracted by something happening in the comments. Could you give me the prompt again?
I am tied for the league lead in quality starts with 15.
Okay. That's a lot of quality starts.
Yeah.
It's not Taj Bradley because I was counting up his quality starts. And while he has a lot, it's not 15.
I do have it pulled up. So just in case you choose one of the 4 players that has tied for the league lead in quality.
The most obscure one, I assume, is what you're looking for.
Yes.
Mitch Keller.
Scotty does know.
Yeah.
Scotty does. Yeah. Mitch Keller, man. I mean, this surprised me. He's quietly just been really good. He tied for the league lead with, let me mention who, Zach Wheeler, Framber Valdez, and Logan Webb this season. Mitch Keller has a 3.53 ERA, a 1.16 WHIP. The strikeouts are not great, but he's also throwing strikes at a career best rate. He's not walking anyone. And I thought he was a worthwhile name bringing up just because with the trade deadline a week away, I can see him getting moved somewhere and his value increasing, just not being on the Pirates. So
yeah. What's his record for all those quality starts? It's like 3-10, right?
He has just 4 wins. I didn't write down the losses. So.
4. I think it's 4-10.
Yeah.
It's the Pirates are holding it back for sure, but I'm glad you're seeing the light on Mitch Keller. Some have said over the years that despite his high ERAs, if you look at the game logs, you'll see that it's mostly just a handful of starts causing all that skewing of the ERA, and that actually he's a quality start machine who points leaguers should appreciate more.
That means we're going to get those 5 starts at some point the rest of the season. And this ERA is going to be like 4.50 by the end of the season. I hope that doesn't happen. But I mean, I guess a good change of scenery. Maybe it does them worse. We'll see. All right, last name here. Through my first 15 starts, I had 2.4 walks per 9. Over my last 5, it's 5.3 walks per 9.
Okay, it was 5.3 over the last 5. What was it? The first number?
2.4 walks per 9 over his first 15.
So he was really good for control, and lately he's been really bad. Nobody is immediately coming to mind here. How about who struggled? I don't feel confident in this at all, but I'm going to say Chris Bubich.
Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know.
I think you might kick yourself when I tell you who, Scott. Mackenzie Gore.
You know what? That was the name that came into my mind first, and then I switched it to Chris Bubich.
Last 5 starts overall for Mackenzie Gore. It's a 6.04 ERA, a 1.70 WHIP. Obviously mentioned the walks. His swinging strike rate down to 11%, just 7.5 K per 9 during that time. Obviously, that includes a start where he just gave up 8 earned runs, so that really inflates the numbers here. But I don't know, Scott, are you a little bit worried that Mackenzie Gore is turning back into a Charizard?
I'm always a little bit worried.
Are you a lot of bit worried?
A lot of bit worried. No, I'm just a little bit worried. He's still, he's still 11.2 K per 9 on the year. The whip it's run high all year, so he hasn't been able to turn that corner to becoming a true ace in fantasy. And yeah, I don't know. I'll look into it more, because I feel like there's more I could dig into here. But since I wasn't prepared to talk about Mackenzie Gore today, I hadn't digged into it. But as it's been playing out, 2 starts ago, 6 innings, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. He's still mixed in starts like that. And as I mentioned for, who was it yesterday? Jesus Luzardo. It's like, well, if you're still doing that, I don't want to nitpick too much because every pitcher is going to have a bad 5-start, 6-start stretch. It's an indication to me that it's not like you've just lost it. You're just hitting a bump in the road here.
All right. Yeah. And I noticed that you did lower Mackenzie Gore down to SP24 in your rankings. And I've got to update mine still. And I think Gore needs to probably drop down at least to that range, maybe even a little bit further. But we'll see on Mackenzie Gore moving forward. All right. Well, pretty good. You got one right. But overall.
That's better than I should have done, to be perfectly honest.
That is true. All right, let's wrap up here with our Week 19 preview, brought to you by Travis Matthew, apparel designed for confidence and comfort no matter where the day takes you. And first up, we have the schedule for next week, 24 teams with 6 games and 6 teams that have 7 games, including the Orioles, Yankees, Mariners, Rays, Rangers, and Blue Jays. What about the Rockies? They have 6 games next week. 3 are at home in Coors Field against the Pirates, and 3 are on the road at the Guardians. Starters sit these 2 start pitchers for next week, and I'm going to ask, just because I know people are thinking about it, Dylan Cease gets the Mets and the Cardinals.
What I've been saying it for weeks now, I don't think you mess with Dylan Cease. I think you just take whatever he gives you. You risk missing out on too much by sitting him. The talent is still there by all the underlying indicators. It's just typical Dylan Cease variance, and that could change at the drop of a hat. So I don't have Dylan Cease as must start, but he leads the second tier, which is advisable in most cases. Before we move on here with the 2-start pitcher rankings, I do think it's important to point out trade deadline's a week from today. At the moment we're recording, this is a week from Thursday, which means it's going to interrupt the scoring period we're talking about right now. And so if it's an active trade deadline, if there are a number of starting pitchers being moved, that's going to disrupt a lot of starting rotations in ways we can't really foresee right now.
Yeah.
So just be extra careful when picking 2-start pitchers or when making any matchups play at starting pitcher. It may not be the matchup you think. It may not be the 2-start status you think. So this week, as much as ever, you may want to lean on your studs, your most reliable starting pitchers, regardless of matchup.
All right, next up, we have Chase Burns, who we still think has a lot of upside, but he also faces the Dodgers and Braves next week.
I am going to say yes to Burns.
All right, next up, we have your boy, Mitch Keller. He's at the Giants and at the Rockies, also a name that could be traded. But
presuming he remains with the Pirates, yes. So maybe he won't get that start in Colorado, which could be good news. As bad as the Rockies are, though, maybe not. I have Mitch Keller advisable in most cases.
Next up, we have Drew Rasmussen at the Yankees and home against the Dodgers. Still being limited moving forward. What do you think about Drew Rasmussen?
Yeah, I have him in that same tier, advisable in most cases. I think he's especially good in roto since he's not giving you the length you want for points leagues, but the ratios tend to be good. But he is RP eligible, which helps more in points leagues. So, yeah, I think most people are going to want to start Rasmussen.
Eduardo Rodriguez, coming off one of his better starts of the season, is at the Tigers and at the Athletics.
Yeah, he misses the mark for me. It's a couple tough matchups, and that start was okay, but I think he had 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. It wasn't anything that really changes the equation for me.
Frankie Montas is at the Padres and home against the Giants.
I'm going to pass on him too, though that's not terrible matchups.
Zach Eflin looked better in his return to the Orioles mound. He gets the Blue Jays and is at the Cubs.
Which are too tough.
Also could be traded.
Yeah, and those are two tough matchups. I need to see more than one good start from Eflin to trust him again.
Casey Mize is home against the D-backs and at the Phillies.
No thanks.
And Cam Schlittler gets the Rays and at the Marlins.
I say no.
That's the old Florida double dip right there. Tampa Bay Rays and Miami Marlins. How about that?
Yeah.
All right, Scott, who are some 2-star pitchers that you do like? Some names that you were looking to add and stream for next week. Well, maybe you don't like, but you got to choose 5. Blah, 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 so.
I have to like somebody. I have to like 10 somebodies. And it is it's an uncomfortable feeling, actually. Edward Cabrera, because of that elbow scare, he's available in a third of CBS Sports leagues again. Surprised to see it. He lines up for 2 starts at St. Louis versus the Yankees. Not the best matchups there, but it hasn't so much mattered recently who Cabrera has been facing. He's been pitching well. Slade Ciccone, I mentioned on yesterday's show that he'll probably be a sleeper pitcher for me in the weeks upcoming, looking ahead at his matchups. Certainly goes for week 19 here. He's facing the Rockies in Cleveland, and he's facing the Twins, who are not hitting so great themselves. Got a few 1-start options that we'll circle back to here before ranking my next 2-start streamer, which is Patrick Corbin, Angels and Mariners. I know.
What?
Recommending Patrick Corbin in the year 2025. Look, he's been steady, and I think there's a reason for it. His cutter has made a leap this year. It's a harder cutter, and it's led to much weaker contact overall. So it's continued long enough. Angels, Mariners, I think those matchups are pretty solid. I could see starting Corbin at least in a points league. Landon Roop gets the Pirates and the Mets. He's been pretty steady lately. And I do have Joe Boyle here rounding out the list. Now, it's not even confirmed he's in the Rays rotation, replacing Taj Bradley, but presuming Boyle is slotting in Bradley's spot, he would line up for the 2 starts. But they are the Yankees and the Dodgers, the 3rd-ranked and 1st-ranked offense in the majors. So between the bad matchups and the uncertainty over the role, Boyle is only my 10th sleeper pitcher. If we get some confirmation over the weekend that he is indeed starting Monday, maybe he moves up the list.
All right, who are the
Tuesday? It would be Tuesday that he's starting, not Monday.
Who are the 1-star streamers that you referenced earlier?
All right, Brandon Walter's been great recently. We talked about him a ton yesterday. He's facing the Nationals, middling matchup, so it's really more just about how good Walter's been recently. Jose Soriano, it's been kind of hit or miss recently, but it's coming off a very good start against the Phillies, and he gets the Rangers, who are 23rd in runs scored. Michael Wacha gets the Braves. They're in shutdown mode. They've kind of been in shutdown mode all season, but very lifeless, that offense right now. So I think you can trust Wacha against them. Eric Lauer, who we just talked about earlier, he's facing the Orioles. Max Scherzer is facing the Royals, who ranks 2nd to last in runs scored. Scherzer hasn't looked great since returning from the thumb injury, but I think he can take advantage of that matchup.
All right, let's slide over to the hitters, and the best matchups are the Mariners, Blue Jays, Pirates, Rays, and Guardians. I mean, just what the Blue Jays need. Some great matchups here. Gosh, I'm so scorned right now as a Yankee fan. Worst hitter matchups: Tigers, Mets, Nationals, Dodgers, and Reds. Who are your favorite sleeper hitters for Week 19?
Royce Lewis has been incredible lately. We know he has a ton of upside. Twins matchups are not terrible. I think Royce Lewis is just too available, and so he's on this list. Ivan Herrera, basically the same reason. The Cardinals matchups I like a little more than the Twins matchups, and we just saw Herrera have the big game here Thursday, but I think he's under-rostered. I think that needs to change. I don't want to have to talk about him again here. Make it happen. All right, Josh.
You sounded like a disappointed dad. I don't want to talk about it again.
I am. Come on, guys. What are you doing? I'm spoon feeding this to you at this point. All right, Josh Lowe, he keeps appearing on this list and doesn't do much with it, but The Rays, as you mentioned, have the 4th best hitter matchups, and I still see a lot of reason to believe he's going to be a 5-category contributor. So I'm putting him out there again. I also have Chandler Simpson from the Rays lineup on this list. He might just be must start in a roto league with the 5 outfielder spots, but even in points leagues, I think you could think about using Simpson this week. Nolan Shanuel has been a very solid contributor in points league all season long, and the Angels matchups are pretty good. One lefty on the schedule. Shanuel is especially good against righties, so I think it's a good time to use him. Trent Grisham is also going to benefit from a righty-heavy schedule. The Yankees, one of just 6 teams playing 7 games, everyone against a right-handed pitcher. I think Grisham started to pick it up again a little bit at the plate, and not a bad time to use him with those matchups. Spencer Horwitz, we haven't talked about him, but he's been very hot lately. The Pirates, as you mentioned, have the 3rd best hitter matchups. They are the team visiting Coors Field this week. Good time to start Horwitz. Ramon Laureano, who you talked about earlier in the show. Orioles are another one of those 6 teams playing 7 games. Jorge Polanco and JP Crawford round out the list here. Had to get a couple Mariners in there since they have the best hitter matchups. Paul.
All right, that was the weekly preview brought to you by Travis Matthew, apparel designed for confidence and comfort no matter where the day takes you. And for those watching right now, you see what I'm wearing. I'll describe for those listening. Floral polo here from Travis Matthew, legitimately the softest polo I have ever owned. And Scott, looking over at you, I think that's the one that's kind of like a light purple, right?
It is a light purple.
Can't really see it on the camera. It doesn't.
It looks more light blue on the camera. That's probably just a contrasting issue, but it's a nice color purple. I was looking for a purple polo. Travis Matthew delivered very, very, very cool shirt. You don't get hot wearing it. It has a nice texture to it. I enjoy it quite a bit.
Indeed. Big thanks to Travis Matthew for making clothes for any occasion that are not only comfy, but stylish as well. Call to the bullpen here. A few updates for the Cardinals. Ryan Helsley got the 9th inning with a 2-run lead. He allowed a hit, but struck out 2 for his 20th save. I was reading an article from The Athletic earlier where they interviewed Ryan Helsley, and he thinks that there's a 90% chance that he's going to be traded. So that's really high. We'll see.
That is really high.
If Ryan Helsley's traded, he's probably the closer for another team. Let's hope he doesn't go to like the Yankees where he's a setup man or something like that.
He's been pretty shaky this year. Isn't his whip like 140?
I don't know. You might be right.
It is 141.
That's not the best.
That's not what I'd want from my closer.
Strikeout rate has trended down the past couple of years. It's 3.18 ERA, but he's giving up harder contact. It's a 141 whip. So swinging strike rate is still great. I believe he's a pending free agent too. So yeah, he is. Makes sense. Like they can trade him and even re-sign him if they wanted to bring him back. So, could be on the move there. Again, that's Ryan Helsley. For the Athletics, Mason Miller recorded the final 4 outs for his 20th save. I did see that he hit 104 miles per hour once again with his fastball in this outing. Just crazy stuff. And for the Mariners, Andres Munoz allowed 2 base runners, but picked up his 23rd save, his career high 23rd save here. Once again, thank you to Dan Wilson for just using Andres Munoz like the closer. You are the man. We appreciate it. To stream or not to stream on Friday, we have Dean Kramer, who gets the Orioles. Nope, he's on the Orioles. He gets the Rockies in Baltimore. Emmett Sheehan is at the Red Sox. Adrian Hauser gets the Cubs. Jeffrey Springs at the Astros. Zebby Matthews against the Nationals.
Yeah. So when we were looking at these options yesterday, I think we said Zebby Matthews and Emmett Sheehan, though. Looks like you've added Dean Kramer to the list since then against the Rockies in Baltimore.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, that as well as Kramer's been pitching recently, he might jump to the top of the list for me ahead of Zebby Matthews and Emmett Sheehan.
On Saturday, I believe Trevor Rogers will be near the top of our list, also facing the Rockies in Baltimore. We get Kumar Rocker against the Braves. Jacob Lopez is at the Astros. Cade Horton at the White Sox. Aaron Savali is on the other side against the Cubs. Jansen Junk at the Brewers, and Jose Quintana against the Marlins.
I don't really like any of them beyond Trevor Rogers.
I think Cade Horton at the White Sox could be all right.
The White Sox have been beating up on pitchers better than him.
True.
I don't know.
I am enamored by those secondary pitches for Cade Horton. So.
Yeah, no, he's a talent. Obviously, he's been a top 100 prospect however many years in a row. I'm not sure this is the moment where he's going to put it all together. My second choice would probably be Jacob Lopez at Houston, even though he's not looking as interesting as he used to.
And then on Sunday, how far can we push streaming against the Rockies? Tomoyuki Sugano gets the Rockies in Baltimore. We also have Brady Singer against Tampa Bay. Joey Cantillo is at the Royals. Michael McGreevy against the Padres. Jack Leiter against the Braves. I don't know.
Not great. I think Sugano's the best choice from Sunday, but he's the worst choice among the Orioles pitchers in Colorado or against Colorado this weekend.
For sure.
Yeah. If I had to pick a second from Sunday, maybe Michael McGreevy.
Yeah. Either him or Jack Leiter, but I like McGreevy long-term as a pitcher, but against the Padres, they don't strike out much, yada, yada. Yeah, one of those two, McGreevy or Jack Leiter, if you need a streamer on Sunday. We are going to wrap there. For Scott, I am Frank. Thanks, as always, for tuning into Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify, and we will be back again next week. Bye-bye.